Hello, I'm James Connors.
And I'm Mary Bridget Kane.
And welcome to a very, very special edition of Mainline Morning. Today, we have a very special guest. His name is Brendan Hansen. Brendan is a two-time Olympic gold medalist, a silver medalist, and a bronze medalist in swimming. Also, he swam on the relay with Michael Phelps to help him secure his 8th gold medal. Brendan, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming out.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here.
So now you grew up here in Pennsylvania, just down the road in Pennsylvania, but you now live in Texas.
Right.
So what are you doing in town?
Just hanging out a little bit. My club team that I swam for when I was living in Havertown, it just needs a little bit of support, so I'm going out. We're doing a clinic tonight for 100 kids, and then over the weekend I'm doing another clinic with Derek Torres and Rebecca Soni, who are also on the Olympic team with me. The swimmers generally do a lot of outreach programs. It's a grassroots sport, so that's the only way to get people excited about the sport is kind of going out there and doing clinics. So I've been in about 25 cities in the last 5 months, so it's definitely an understatement to say that I'm a traveling man.
Wow. And you grew up in Havertown, and you went to Haverford, and you swam on that team.
Mm-hmm.
And you did very, very well on that team.
Right.
Would you like to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, growing up in Havertown, it's a small little window to the entire world, and you kind of you definitely have to go away to experience life, really. And I think for me, going into swimming at high school states and Penn State, that was some of the most fun swimming I've ever done. The crowd was one of the best. I mean, when you compare it to the Olympics or Olympic trials, maybe the pressure wasn't as much as state, but it was all about the team, all about your school, and that's what I loved about high school swimming. That's what I loved about college swimming, and it was just a great to come back here where this is where it all started.
Mm-hmm.
Now, right, you were talking earlier about how you swam for Suburban Swim Center, and your coach there was Charlie Kennedy. And
right.
Charlie's been called one of the top breaststroke coaches in the country. And I was wondering what your thoughts were on whether Charlie made you a great swimmer or you made Charlie a great coach.
That's actually a great question. I think, and a little bit loaded. Charlie, if you're out there, sorry, bud. No, I think when you look at it, Charlie and I were a team,
yep.
and Charlie knew what buttons to push on me to make me a better athlete. I also knew what buttons to push on him to make him a better coach. So that two-way communication made our relationship grow to where it is today, and I think he's a better coach because of it, and I'm a better athlete because of it.
Mm-hmm. So it's mutual.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's the safest answer I could possibly give.
And then you went from there to University of Texas
right.
at Austin, and you swept in the 100 and 200 breaststroke all 4 years.
Right.
How was that?
Well, the story behind that is that I missed making the 2000 Olympic team by 1/100 of a second twice, which in the Guinness Book of World Records is like the only record I have, really, is missing the team. So it really kind of was tough for me, and that was a turning point in my career where I was like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to work harder than I ever have, and I'm going to come back to college and represent my team and then try and make the Olympic team. So to win the 100 and 200 breaststroke all 4 years of college was just a chip on my shoulder because I didn't make that Sydney Olympic team, and it kind of led up into the 2004 Olympics where I won a gold and silver and bronze.
Mm-hmm.
So now you swam at the University of Texas, and there you swam under Eddie Reese. Now Eddie Reese he's won an award for being the Coach of the Year this year for having so many Olympians on the Olympic team.
Right.
Can you speak a little bit about why you decided to go to the University of Texas?
I think we talked about Charlie earlier, and I think Eddie kind of was a good transition for me coming from a program with Charlie in it, and Eddie just fit it well for me going to flying 2,000 miles to another city and trying to build my life up there and get excited about it. Eddie was somewhat of a father figure to me. He kind of helped me through a lot of stuff, realized where I was at in my career. He saw the potential in me, which was awesome, and that potential was. He would just tell him, Brendan, you can be the best world breaststroker in the world ever. Yeah. And I was like, really? I just threw up like 5 minutes ago in practice. And he's like, yeah, you're fine. And so when you're trained for somebody like that who has that much belief in what you possibly can do and your potential, it's hard not to swim fast and it's hard not to ultimately reach your goals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then you made the Olympic team in 2004 to go to Athens. Mm-hmm. How did your training at Texas prepare you for that?
I think the only training you can really get for the Olympics is the pressure, and when you're training for an NCAA championship, and we were trying to win NCAA championships for Texas, you're just forced to get up there and get on the blocks and perform at that exact moment for your team. It's not about you when you're in college, it's more about the team. And so that pressure and being able to handle that pressure was a good transition for me and helped me prepare for the Olympics, where it is literally just you and a teeny-weeny Speedo in front of 8 billion people. And if you mess up, well, then you've got 3.5 years to try and do it again. So to deal with that pressure, it was somewhat easier because, one, I had more Texas guys on the team because Eddie put a lot of guys on the Olympic team, and two, coming from a team that was expected to win a national championship every year, that's a lot of pressure and a lot of expectation.
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure for you coming into that meet. You set 2 world records at the 2004 Olympic trials in both the 100 and 200 breaststroke. Did you have the expectation that you could win 2 gold medals in both breaststrokes?
I think everybody did. I think I went going into that meet trying to make the Olympic team and came out expected to win a couple gold medals. And I went to the Olympics and I was absolutely fried, emotionally, physically, everything. It's just a whirlwind roller coaster of a ride going from Olympic trials to the Olympics, and I wanted so badly to be there. And when I had finally made it and was there, I was just more content with just being there than I was to actually perform well there. So I kind of learned that lesson a little bit and kind of walked away from those Olympics, obviously with 3 Olympic gold medals, my first 3 Olympic medals, but at the same time I was just like, man, I kind of wish I had swam better, and I just knew that it just wasn't there. I mean, as a swimmer, when your tapers hit right and everything's right and you get on the blocks, you're ready to go, and it just, I could have told you way before the race even started that it wasn't going to happen.
And did that really affect your training for the next games?
Yeah, because that was then I became a professional athlete, which was a whole different whirlwind. Just a whole different lifestyle too. I mean, now you're hanging out with a bunch of celebrities. You're trying to stay focused on training and all that stuff, but then you're getting invited to all these parties and you're doing this, and you're going there and you have appearances there and you have an agent that's calling you every other day telling you what to do. I mean, these are all the things that now you have to deal with, and your lifestyle completely changes. I spent half my life on a plane, so coming from a small town of Havertown, I'd say that I've logged in my airplane miles, that's for sure.
Now, at the 2004 Olympics, you developed a heated rival with the Japanese breaststroker Kosuke Kitajima. Yes.
Right.
Could you tell us a little bit more about that rivalry?
There's not much really to that rivalry. The media obviously decided to take it to where they wanted to, and he doesn't speak a lick of English, so he would just say like "Good rock," and that's all he would ever say,
Right.
So and I'd just be like, "Hey man, good luck," and he'd just be like, not understand a word I was saying. So. From that standpoint, we appreciated each other. We knew we were going to make each other better and compete. I love competing against them, but that was all just propaganda and the media just taking it to where they wanted to go with it. And It was a great story, and It was like a good rivalry. But if you asked him or you asked me, there was nothing to it.
Okay.
And speaking of rivalries, you swim with a lot of people and you train with a lot of people who you end up competing against in the Olympics.
Right.
How do you deal with that?
I cry every night. I think if you work and this goes for everything that you do in life, and I honestly believe that's what the best thing about swimming is. It teaches you life skills all the time, and that's where if you make the people around you better, you're ultimately making yourself better, and that's what I felt like I was doing with my teammates. Granted, in 2008 they were all swimming really fast, and I helped a lot of them, maybe even a little too much, because they all made the Olympic team. And some of them even beat me out for a spot in the Olympics. But ultimately, I felt like I was a better athlete because of it, and I swam better because of it. And that goes to say a lot for me and a lot of my teammates, that we care more about the actual unit of team going to the Olympics more so than anyone's individual performance.
Right. Now, coming into 2008, you qualified for the team in the 100 and the medley relay, and you got inched out on the 200 breaststroke. So now going into Beijing, what were your expectations for the 100? Did you have similar expectations that you did in Athens?
It was hard, man. I felt like when I got behind the blocks in Beijing, I was looking down the other end of the pool and I was just like, holy cow, am I still really swimming?
Right.
Because at this point I'd swam for 25 years straight. I mean, I didn't know anything different, and I felt like I was kind of burned out. But I was a competitor. I've always been a competitor. I got up to the blocks and I raced everybody and got inched out the way I did. But I knew that my heart wasn't 100% in it, and that's when I knew I needed to take a step away from the sport, take some time off, and enjoy life a little bit.
Right.
And then I knew taking a step back I'd ultimately be taking 2 or 3 steps forward in swimming.
Right.
And that's a setback, but it's an interesting setback in that you're still at the top of the game,
Right.
when you get to the Olympics. How do you deal with that in that it's not a total setback?
I think that everyone always asks me, it's like, oh my God, what was it like being in the Olympics? And I honestly say it's just no different than any other meet, just LeBron and Kobe Bryant are cheering for you inside the pool. I mean, that's all the really difference is. And I think as long as you can keep that comparison to level the playing field where you're just like, okay, this is just another meet, I need to go in there and race, then it's not going to affect you and you're not going to be like freaking out. And to stay at that level for so long, it definitely took its toll on me. And I think this last year and a half where I really haven't been in the competitive scene of swimming, it's really helped me to prepare for 2012. Yeah.
Now, in that 100 breaststroke in Beijing, you finished 4th, and that was early on in the meet. I believe it was day 2 maybe. And later on day 8, you had to come back and race with Michael Phelps to potentially put your name in the record books of Olympic history. How are you able to come back with such a great swim on that relay?
I think that just all came down to me doing it for the 3 other guys and not for myself. It was a very unselfish act. I just told myself there's absolutely no way I'm going to let anybody down. And I told Michael that because there was only 4 of us left in the village. Everybody else on the team was done, and we were the last event. So we were just hanging out there. And I walked into Michael's room and I said, Michael, man, I was like, do you realize that when you win this last 8th medal, you're going to be the best Olympian that there ever was?
Best ever.
And I was like, your life is about to change, man, like completely change. And he's like, yeah. And he opened up his nightstand and there were 7 Olympic gold medals in there. And he pulled them out. It looked like a wind chime. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. But I think from that standpoint and going up there with 3 guys that I consider brothers, it was fun, man. We had a blast, and we'll never forget that. And everybody asked me, and I'll tell everybody here today, everybody asked me, Brendan, what were you guys talking about when we all huddled up before the race? And they were like, man, were you guys sitting in there? Like, they wanted a camera in there. We kind of pushed the camera out. And we were like, oh my gosh, can you believe the entire NBA basketball team is up there? Like, that's all we could think about was who was up there. I mean, that's the cool thing about the Olympics is that there's superstars in the stands. Everybody's there excited about it. And half the time, the athletes are more excited about who's cheering them on than they are actually representing their country. So,
wow. Now, a big difference that's going to be between Beijing and London is the new requirements on the bathing suits that swimmers can wear.
Right.
How do you feel about those?
I'm a better swimmer without the suit. I'll tell you that right now. That definitely favors me more. I've always over-prepared and over-delivered. That's what I mean, the way I approach things is over-prepare but under-deliver, you know what I mean? Don't tell everybody what you're going to do, just go up there and do it because it's all about executing. And for me, I just had always got to the blocks knowing that I'd worked harder than all the 7 other guys I was racing against. That's where my confidence came from. Not sitting up there saying I have bigger muscles or I'm stronger than this guy or I have a hotter girlfriend, whatever it is. I didn't say any of that stuff. All I did was say, okay, I knew I worked harder than everybody else, and that's what's going to make me faster. And to go into the London Games knowing that everybody is at an equal playing field with the suits, and that whole controversy will be gone, definitely puts me in favor because I can play mind games with everybody. And when it comes to that, there's pretty much no one that can challenge me.
Now, you talk about how difficult your training is, and obviously with the media blitz of Michael Phelps' 8 gold medals, everyone is now aware of how hard a swimmer trains. How hard exactly do you train when you're preparing for the Olympics? About how many hours a day do you spend in the pool?
I'd say it's upwards of 4.5 to 5 hours actually in the water training, and then there's a dry land workout about an hour and a half. The tough thing is that you build it up to the point where you're just so broken down that all you want to do is sleep and eat, and you don't really have a social life, and you're just trying to gain hundredths of a second so that you can win a shiny piece of metal that sits in my sock drawer.
So you're literally training for 6 hours a day?
Yeah, for 7 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm eating a lot too, which is always fun.
What is a swimmer's diet like, especially around Olympic time?
If it's not nailed down, we pretty much eat it. I think, and in mass quantities. With a diet like that, I mean, we treat our body, and when we tell a lot of people, especially the Olympians, tell a lot of people that we just treat our bodies like they're $200,000 sports cars. You put the best gas in the car to run. I mean, I know if I eat an entire large pizza, that the next day in practice, I'm pretty much going to throw up. That's just the way it is. So I make sure that I eat the well-rounded meals. I do all the stuff to make sure it's right. Because when it comes down to hundredths of a second, you try and dot all of your I's and cross all of your T's to make sure that when you get to that moment and you have that moment, you're the best you possibly can be.
Right. Now, you've been taking a little bit of break from swimming, and I understand that you've been doing some triathlons?
Yeah, which has been a lot of fun.
Right.
It's been a fun for me to kind of step away from swimming. I can still swim, so in the triathlons, it's nice because like a lot of the triathletes can't really swim, so I get a huge lead off the swim. And then kind of the transitions from the bike and the run have been a lot of fun. It's been a great way for me to stay in shape, and a lot of the time swimmers' appetite doesn't change. So we tend to get fat when we stop swimming, but I've been pretty good about staying on top of that and making sure that when I do come back in 2011, I'll be ready to go, and it won't be that much of a transition for me to get into racing shape.
And when you were professionally swimming, did you have a lot of time to do things like triathlons or other sports or see any other interests?
No, pretty much the only thing I could do is walk my dog.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now my question is, you train so hard for these Olympic Games. How are you able to stay motivated for 3.5 years of training?
Because, man, I think it's the 2.5 minutes where the national anthem's playing and you're on the podium. And everything that you've done to get to that point is flashing through your head. And it's the greatest moment of your entire athletic career. And everybody's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you asked any athlete that goes to the Olympics, any professional athlete outside that plays a national basketball league, or the baseball players, or all of those superstars outside of that, those 2.5 minutes where you hear the national anthem and you're covered in the American flag, you're just covered with this overwhelming sense of pride for this country. And I know that I'm representing everybody in the studio and everybody outside here, and that's the fun of it, man. And like I was telling you on the hallway in here, it's just that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And if you can do it once, man, well, hell, let's do it again.
So do you have any rituals that you always do before races?
Not really. I'm not a real superstitious person. Is that right? Yeah, superstitious person. I'm not really a superstitious. Yeah. Most of the baseball players are, but I'm not. I just kind of do my thing and get ready to race. There's not much to it.
Right. Well, Brendan, I know you've got to get out of here. You've got to go to a swim clinic at Suburban Swim Center, so I've got a couple of final questions for you.
Let's do this.
All right. What's your favorite food?
Steak.
What's your favorite music?
Country.
And are you going to win an individual Olympic gold in 2012?
Yes. I feel like I'm in a lie detector test right now. I'm like, did I pass? Is there like a little needle going?
Brendan, you absolutely passed.
Thank you, man.
Well, that about wraps it up for Mainline Morning. I'm James Connors.
I'm Mary Bridget Kane.
Now we're going to have a round of applause for Brendan Hansen. Brendan, thank you so much for coming on the show. We have a couple of parting gifts before we go for you. We have a nice little bag here. Now, my mom works on the Conestoga swim team, so we have right here, we have a Conestoga swimming towel. So this is for you. Sweet. And also from the TV studio, we have one of these mugs that we never drink out of, complimentary on us.
Thanks,
Brendan,
man.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank
we
you.
really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank
That
you.
does it for Mainline Morning. I'm James Connors.
Have a nice day.